It is a beautiful day. It is about mid-80s in the afternoon. So it's a little warm, but not too bad. Mid-80s is not bad at all when you're considering that other places are still in the hundreds. We're not in the hundreds here. So, got a few things done in the garden, a few amazing things. So it helps eliminate some of the work that I have to do in the garden. I put a timer on the water. Got my kombucha back up and running. It took a little bit. My SCOBY was not happy. I almost killed it. So I got the water system installed. I have drip irrigation throughout the entire garden. Every row has 3 drip lines except for 3 rows. So I have my citrus orchard over next to the tunnels, and then I have this one row right here. I ran out of emitters, the ones that plug into the main lines and then hook into the drip tape. So I ran out of those, but that's not a problem. I can still install them later. I divided out or separated out the ones that I was able to install in a way that it will allow me to put another one in later on. So I got a couple trees planted in the ground, well, sort of in the ground, just sort of. So they're in pots, and some of their roots were growing through the bottom of the pots, and instead of cutting the roots off and stressing the plant, I cut the bottom of the pot out and was able to get the plastic off the bottom. And then I dug, well, Wes dug the holes for the trees, and then I just put the pots into the ground. So, little decorative, but still in the ground. Works out great, because now I have pots in the ground and it looks good. So it's a little more decorative than just usable. It's both. So this ladder here came from Cascade. We brought it from Cascade, Idaho. I definitely wanted it. It's very, very old school. Basically, it was made about 1940s, and the wood is still good. So I want to grow plants up this. Right now I have butternuts. It's either butternut or honey nut squash. So that'll grow up on top of this and climb up into the tree. So I got my plant starts out here. They're all hardened off. They get some shade and some sun, depending on where the sun is at and during the day. So they're ready to go into the ground, and I'll be able to put them out into the rows. That's going to happen in the next couple of days. And well, that's pretty much it. I did finally bring them out and get them hardened off, so they need to go into the ground because they're getting stunted by being kept in these small little tiny pots. They don't have a whole lot of room to grow their roots. So they're probably not going to be full capacity when they do mature, and that's my fault, but it's better that I have them than not have them. And once these are in the ground, I'm going to start new seeds so that I have about a month of them to germinate and start growing before I start putting them into the ground. And these should develop and get bigger and be able to shade the smaller plants until they get harvested, and then the smaller plants will just take over. So it's succession planting in between each of the bigger plants. So that's the plan with these, and I know they don't look very happy. And we've talked before about my potatoes. I am not going to do potato slips anymore. I will do sweet potato slips because that's how you grow them. But my potato slips, it's this row right here, just didn't do very well. So I'm not going to do that anymore. What I have, I'll harvest and see what I get from it, but it doesn't look like I'm going to get a whole lot. My Yukon Gold are doing pretty good up until you get towards the end down there, and then they're getting a little bit thin. So I'm going to figure out what's going on with the soil down there, figure out what I can do different, and get a better harvest next year. So this year it's more of experimenting, seeing what works, what doesn't work, what I need to do with the garden, with the soil, with the water, with the sun, and then fixing it for the next year. So that's really what this year has all been about. This year has been an introduction to hornworms. I've never had a hornworm before, but the hornworms were growing all over the potato plants, mostly the slips. So that's part of the reason why they didn't do so well. So what we're doing this year is we're experimenting with these little fire dragonflies. I think they're dragonflies. And see if maybe they'll scare off a bunch of the moths that are around here and the other pests that are laying the eggs. And hopefully, if that works, of course I'm going to be moving it around on a daily basis to make sure that nothing gets used to it. And see if it works. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Sometimes when weeding the garden, we miss a plant. I'm not sure how I missed this. This is an amaranth. They also call it pigweed, but this is huge. So I'm not sure how that happened. So let's get it out of the ground. When pulling the bigger weeds, I try and be real gentle so that I don't disturb the root structure of the other plants that are right next to it. But this is ridiculous. With the drip lines, I should have one drip line per foot of bed, with the emitters being, I believe they were 12 inches apart. But you can see that these 4-foot beds only have 3 drip lines, and that's because I didn't have enough emitters to run 4 per bed. So what I can do when I end up with the connections that I want, the number of them, what I'll do is I'll just shift this completely down and add another one at the end. And I can do that on each of the beds. And once it's shifted, I will have room to add the 4th line. I intentionally measured them out in order to make sure that I could add a 4th one when the time comes to be able to do that. So the entire line will just get shifted, and then a 4th line will be added to every row. So I'm not worried about it later on. Right now, I just water longer. Once I get the 4th ones in, then I'll be able to water a shorter amount of time because each foot will get water where it needs to be, and each plant will be able to get water when it needs water. We live outside of a small town. It's about 44,000 people, super small compared to where we came from in Idaho. And they have a community garden in town, and each person can basically rent their garden beds and grow food in their garden beds. And it's very inexpensive. I went there today and started kind of asking questions and trying to learn more about the plants that grow really well here and the produce. And I got some good information while I was there, and I got a tour around the community garden and got to talk to some of the other folks that rent space in the garden and talk to them about their experiences with gardening in this new to me climate. And I got a lot of good information. These people were amazing. I did learn that any fig trees will do really well here. The pomegranate that they had at the community garden it was huge. And so I'm super excited about that because I do have a pomegranate here. So I'm looking forward to seeing that grow and mature and be able to get produce off of it. as well as my fig tree. I have a brown turkey fig, and they told me about a couple other varieties that do really well here, so I'm going to get one more fig tree to go, and they'll be able to cross-pollinate to produce more. It's better to have a pollinator. It's not necessary, but it does increase your harvest. I was able to get my goji berry planted here, so I'm going to let it climb up this little tree here. And then I have a trumpet vine over there in the corner. My iris will just get planted right there in between the two trees. It'll get some shade, not a lot, but some. And then at some point, I'm going to put my avocado. I'm going to sink this pot into the ground so that it'll still be in the pot and it won't have to mess with its roots, but I'll be able to raise it up a little bit from the ground and be able to condition the soil. I've decided that I'm going to leave the clematis in the pot, put a couple holes on the bottom so that it can then grow root structure into the ground and still be able to absorb nutrients and moisture from the ground. And then I have jasmine, that's star jasmine over there. It's already in the ground. My elders are not looking so good. They definitely don't like the pot. They want to be in the ground. So those are going to go in here. They're going to get partial shade. Not a big deal because they grow in the forest where they're under canopy bushes. So they'll do just fine. And then this tree, that tree, and this tree have boysenberries planted at the base, so that the boysenberries can climb up the tree and use it as support. And then over here on this big tree is another trumpet vine. Over here in this open area where it's not going to get a whole lot of water is Jerusalem artichokes. So what these do is they grow up pretty tall and they have a little sunflower looking flower at the top of them, but they're great food for rabbit. And then my citrus orchard hasn't been planted yet because the ground is super hard, so we're conditioning the soil over here to be able to put them into the ground and be able to do my citrus orchard over here. I have 2 mandarin, a lemon and a lime, and then I have 2 oranges on order, so they'll be over here. And that's pretty much the garden. 1st of September. I know, it's only been a couple weeks. I didn't get a whole lot done other than the drip irrigation and the drip line to all of the trees. So it's not a lot, but it's getting there little by little. We'll get her done. So we'll see you again next time. Bye.